I let you.
Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to the Ewing Barbecue Podcast in a special edition of After the Barbecue, which is going to be more of a free-flowing cast member profile edition of the show. We're trying something new here. And we have on the woman that you all know as Phyllis Wapner for 11 seasons on Dallas. Deborah Tranelli making her second appearance.
I'm so excited. My second.
I know. And if you come on 5 times, you get a jacket like on Saturday Night Live.
Awesome. Oh, I thought you were just going to punch my card and I'd get a free yogurt.
And you get admission to the 5 Timers Club like Saturday Night Live.
Fantastic. I love it.
We're going to talk today.
Saturday Night Live.
We're going to talk today just about your career pre-Dallas, during Dallas, post-Dallas, because you obviously have done a lot more that has taken you from your beginnings, growing up in New York area.
Right, Schenectady, New York. Yeah.
Schenectady, New York.
Yeah.
And I actually had relatives. I always mixed up the two cities because they had long names, Schenectady and Scarsdale. When I was little, I used to mix up those names.
Really? I'm surprised it wasn't Skaneateles because that's a big one too.
I've never heard of that one.
Oh yeah.
But,
oh yeah. Well, Scarsdale was highly different than Schenectady, so
yes,
and much farther upstate. So
yeah, it took you from New York to Los Angeles, which stood in for Dallas,
right.
And then back to
actually,
New York.
by way of Chicago.
By way of Chicago. So
because I went to school in Chicago. I went to Northwestern University. I was a theater major there, or a speech major. They didn't specifically have theater, but I was a theater major. So I was in Chicago. I was at Northwestern for 4 years, and then worked professionally in Chicago for 3 years, and had every plan to go to New York. I'm a theater person, both musical and non, and thought I was just going to head back to the East Coast. And I had friends who were ahead of me at Northwestern who were already involved with as agents and casting people, and were encouraging me to come to LA. If you're going to do it now. So, of course, I just, no fear. I'd finished up a show that I was doing called Do Black Patent Leather Shoes Really Reflect Up? Just a little sidebar there. The young actress who replaced me was also at Northwestern. You might recognize Megan Mullally.
I've heard the name once or twice.
Has had a little success there. Anyway, so I was in Chicago for a total of 7 years, and then but I bought a car and literally packed up my life and went to Los Angeles. And I think we discussed this on the 3D podcast, but I truly was not even there for a month, and had an interview with an agent, just to get an agent, and he sent me
right
out
place at the right time.
Bobby's secretary, or at least we're in negotiations to potentially do that. And next thing I knew, 2 days before Christmas in 1980, I was filming my first episode. So,
Making of a President.
Yes.
Was your...
Yes, I have that script. I have a few. I some people are shocked, but I didn't keep hundreds of scripts to carry across country with me. But I do have my first and my last, and a few special ones, and one signed by all the cast members.
But if you kept all your scripts, you wouldn't have had room in the car for yourself.
Correct. Or it would have cost me a lot of money to ship the rest of my things out. So my parents would not have wanted them in the attic, or the basement.
Right.
But Dallas happened, and then almost immediately I got cast on an episode of a short-lived series with William Conrad called Nero Wolfe.
Nero Wolfe. Tina Nelson you played.
I did. And then I did an episode of Heart to Heart. So
Jana, Heart to Heart.
So that was kind of like right at the same time, and then many other guest star things going. But it was a good year, 1981 to those were all in 1981. So
right, and in 1983 you did Tucker's Witch. You played Connie of all people.
Connie,
who was the name of the secretary you replaced?
Exactly. Ironic, ain't it?
And did we know?
What was fun was it was also fun to see Stephanie Powers at the Hollywood show, and whether she remembered me or not, I, mentioned the episode because it was all about, furs. My scene was Monty Markham was my boss, who was
Who
also
played
on
Clint
Dallas.
Ogden? Who played
Right.
Clint?
And then my scene truly was with him, but also with Stephanie and Robert Wagner. So I was very lucky to get to do a nice scene with them.
And it's funny that you had scenes with him, and when he was on Dallas, his primary role was with Sue Ellen, and people from the picture you showed said you could be Linda's sister. So
Yep,
it's like,
I got that all the time. Also, Morgan Brittany and I have a joke about that because I would be somewhere and they would think I was Morgan. I mean, I had, all that hair, and not that Morgan and I really look alike, but there's similarity. And she would get mistaken for me, and I would get mistaken for her. So,
and she has those eyes that are almost
gorgeous.
like Donna Mills has her eyes too.
I know.
And it's just very.
I mean, that's all you can look at. Yeah.
You met a good friend of yours in 1983. This is all while filming Dallas, so you just did these little side things because you were a what do they call people like you and
Well,
D2
we
and
were
D3?
sort of even though
Recurring?
we were more than recurring, we were hired per episode. We never had a set number of episodes. So we eventually got co-starring credit because we were on long enough. But
Yeah,
we really were
you did
considered recurring in
you
a
did
way.
143
Recurring,
episodes.
however you want to technically call it. But we
Right.
also obviously did a lot of episodes, but because they hired us per episode, if something else came up, if we got cast on something, whether it was television or film or commercial or whatever, they would either do their best to work around it or, we just wouldn't, do that episode.
Right, like
they were very generous that way because they also didn't, have legal control over that aspect. So it
right,
usually
like
worked out.
Three's Company, where you met your dear friend John Ritter,
Yes.
and you played Jessica Barish.
Yes, I did. Wealthy Jessica Barish. With the hair up and the beaded gown and Reed Shelton, who was the original Daddy Warbucks in Annie on Broadway, played my father. And
I think I have somewhere here your reel.
Okay, yeah, there might be like a tiny little clip of that.
I'm just gonna.
Sounds like my Law and Order. But John and I really bonded in a special way, in particular because both of our brothers had cerebral palsy, and so I talked about my brother Mark, and he talked about his brother Tom, and it's just a way that you bond in a special way. But he was so fantastic to work with, and so sweet, and I saw him many times after that.
And he had such a unique way of facial expressions. I noticed with him a lot of the time when he would do on Three's Company, he would just have this little, just the way he.
I know.
It's almost like I'm rewatching Step by Step, and Sasha Mitchell is on there, and his surfer, just a lot of his expressions are just.
Well, that's what's so fun because it was such a different character, than what he played on Dallas. And it was nice to see him get to do those chops. Same with Patrick. I don't think people knew that Patrick had the comedy chops,
Yeah, and they did not want to hire him for Step by Step originally, and Leonard Katzman had to send over the blooper reel.
Yeah.
The gag reel.
It doesn't matter who you are or how successful you are or how big you are or whatever, or powerful, et cetera, et cetera. People pigeonhole you. And that happens when you play a specific role for a certain amount of time. People, if they don't get the opportunity to, it happened to me on a pilot that ended up not selling, but, I had to really fight hard. And the casting person, who was a friend of a friend, said, but she doesn't do comedy. Well, I made it all the way through the producers and made it to the pilot, and then it didn't happen. But sometimes you just have to keep not giving up,
Right, and they didn't think he could do comedy, but when Leonard sent them the gag reel of this is what goes on off camera,
which we always say was a whole heck of a lot more fun in many ways.
And Stacey Keenan has said that Patrick is more like his Step by Step character than his Dallas.
Oh, absolutely.
And okay, I think I have the
Yeah.
reel here, so let's take a look. Let's see.
Too many buttons to push. I'm seeing the Law and Order. I did. We can watch that. It's a short demo.
There was always
We
time
can
for
watch
kids
it all. It's short.
later.
When Mr. Wright
The
comes
wonderful
along,
Jerry Orbach, Chris
Mr.
Snow.
Wright's wherever you happen to end up with when you run out of gas. Mine's an investment banker. All I had to do was give him a son.
And this is Law and Order,
The problem
by
is
the
it's
way.
not as easy as they taught
That's
us.
Law and Order. I did
it
in 1995.
Men.
This is a film where I'm playing a woman 20 years older than myself who's dying
All
of
my
cancer,
life,
who was a prima
My
ballerina
discipline and my
and
dance
teacher.
training have gotten me through.
And the very long
Short
hair.
They got me through not
A
being
short
able
film
to
called Dance
dance.
for One. Thank you, wigs and
They got me
extensions.
through when you left
And
home.
very gray.
They got me through father.
No, I'm actually like made up to it.
Managed.
Now I'm looking close to that.
You
Here
know,
we go.
Bobby, I've been in the oil business long enough to know why some deals get made and some don't. But I don't see the difference as far as morality goes between blackmail or bribery. For me to be able to share these things with a man who's going to be
Here
my
we
lover.
go.
Jessica, I'm not really your love.
You're alive.
Oh, we had so much fun. We had so much fun on that episode. Oh, I mean, it's so good to laugh. After you've been on
It is.
dramatic series where you don't get many opportunities to do that and to get to do, something different is always fun.
Right. And
to work with a different group of people on a different show. You can be very nervous, as people were coming on our show. Sometimes kind of a
absolutely.
little intimidated, and we were all like, we're just people. We have a way of working and just dive right in. And that's why John was so great. And everybody that I worked with there, they just want you. If you're a good production, you want people to do their best and be their best, and you want to make them feel comfortable, period.
Right. And you were talking about reoccurring, not necessarily reoccurring, but non-contract, just, you're in this episode, you're in this episode. You ended up being in 143 episodes out of the 357.
And actually about probably an additional 20 that were voice only, where I would go and I would like be the voice on the telephone, your mother's calling or so-and-so's calling or whatever. So on camera it was 143, I think, but I think I did actually a total of 165, including just, I wasn't on camera, but I was in the.
What do they call that? ADR?
Mm-hmm.
You go in you record.
I got to know them very well.
And for listeners out there that aren't familiar, just tell them what ADR is. It's
Oh, I knew you were going to do that to me. It's audio something recording. Basically, you'll go in the studio, and there's a scene where obviously I'm on the intercom or whatever, and we get a series of beeps. We say the line. They put that line in as if, let's say Patrick. I'm talking to Patrick, and he hears the line. What happens sometimes is that an actor, there was a particular actor that I have revoiced a few times, and it's just that the film has wrapped, but they're in editing process and they're not available to come in. So you audition to do. I've done a lot of sound alikes and voice alikes over the years. One of my more interesting ones actually is recent. And of course, I hear the lawnmowers now, so hopefully you won't hear them too loudly. I actually did the voice right after she passed away. 2020 did a little blurb on Ivana Trump and her book, and they wanted some lines from the book, and I did Ivana Trump's voice.
Oh,
yes. I mean, it's not like. I don't think it's breaching contract. I mean, obviously they know that Dear Ivana did not record. It's a sound-alike recording of some of her lines from her biography or autobiography. Yeah.
Speaking of music, you obviously are not just an actress; you are a singer as well, as is Deborah Nard.
Right.
So
Now I started singing. We had amazing music programs in my public schools. From elementary, all the way through high school. I actually sang a lot of choral and classical music. I'm not an opera singer, but I sang a lot of classical music as well. So I started my singing, I would say junior high school through high school. And I actually did concerts at local country solo concerts at local country clubs in our version of Central Park in New York, in Schenectady. So I was singing a lot. Unfortunately, Northwestern didn't have a musical theater department the way they do now, but I say that I don't think it was unfortunate. I got an amazing classical acting training as well, so I'm glad I had both. I did musicals as well, but yeah,
Right, and you have quite the
and lots of cabaret and concerts, and yeah, I've
you
been
have
a
quite
couple of places.
you have quite the regional theater. You've done Man of La Mancha, Kismet, 42nd Street, Sweeney Todd, Sound of Music, The Full Monty. Ooh.
Well, the women aren't in the Full Monty. As a matter of fact, both Kismet and Full Monty were at North Shore Music Theater, just down the road from you.
Oh, and I hope if you ever get back there, obviously I'll head up
Yes.
there. Let's see what else. Hairspray.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing Velma. Being a platinum blonde.
Bridges of Madison County and Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, well, Marge is a wonderful character in the musical version of Bridges of Madison County. She's the nosy neighbor, but she gets a great little soulful solo in the show. And Saturday Night Fever is a small role, but I was also the dance captain. So I had to keep them in shape in their choreography. So that was a big job because I'm also a dancer.
Okay.
And I choreographed some of the numbers in Deb Renard and Al Sapienza's act that they remind me that they're still doing.
Yes, and they just had a gig out in Los Angeles.
Yeah, they did a couple of weeks after we were there for Hollywood show. Yeah, but yes, my big pride and joy, besides the great honor of playing at Carnegie Hall 3 times with the New York Pops, and also I performed a couple times at the Kennedy Center, is my solo CD, which I think is what you're maybe trying to queue up.
No, I am trying to queue up some photos of you here.
Oh, okay. No, this was taken backstage. Isn't that great? That's a period gown from the 30s.
From the 30s?
Right after Dallas finished up. I actually I was doing so much singing that I actually had to have a vocal polyp removed in the spring, which was a little scary. That was after the series ended.
Which spring?
Beautifully. Pardon?
When did you have that removed? What?
Oh, that was 91.
Okay.
And thankfully, it was a simple procedure. I just was overdoing it. I was doing about 3 different shows, singing all kinds of music, and I was just tired. But anyway, I recovered from that, and in September of 91, I went on a tour across country for Columbia artists. It was called Cole Porter's 100th birthday, and it was 4 singers and the great jazz pianist Joe Harnell, and I think a 7-piece band, and we did community concert series on a bus.
72 concerts.
Cities, yeah.
26 states.
Yeah,
in 11 weeks.
In 11 weeks, coast to coast, and up and down and over and under. So that was like my first big, I would say, non-post barbecue, after the barbecue gig. That it was wonderful to be doing the live performing again.
Ooh, and then you were also in Naked Vengeance.
I know, an unfortunate title for basically a female Charles Bronson kind of movie that I had the lead role in and did all my own stunts. And we filmed in the Philippines, and we also filmed, here's my album cover.
There's your album. That's not what I'm looking for at the moment here.
But you're looking for the title song that I sang for the film as well.
No. This is what I'm going for. Some of these pictures.
Oh, that's Velma Von Tussle in Hairspray. Baltimore Crabs, her big number.
Okay, there.
I'll follow you wherever you go. Hopefully, I'll remember all of it.
Yes.
She was so much fun to do. That I did at Merry-Go-Round Playhouse in Auburn, New York, not too far from the Syracuse area in New York. She was.
And you went Dolly Parton blonde in that one.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh, and I had another really huge wig too. But yeah, but that was a lot of fun to do. That's the great thing about. I think you have more. I will say this with great affection for my television work. There's much more freedom to physically. I think I sent you some stuff that you can physically transform yourself on stage in a way that is so freeing and less limiting. At least that's my experience.
And talk about the difference between being on stage versus scripted television, film, and
Well,
night after night, it's a different.
right. I think that my natural proclivity is to do the stage, to be on stage, the intimacy of a cabaret room or a concert, because it's an
Oh, there we
immediate,
are.
oh, that's the wonderful David Canary, rest his soul, who played the poet, and I played La Lune in Kismet. And that's the one I told you at North Shore. Such a sweetheart.
That's
Quite an outfit, huh? See
that
those
is quite
shoes?
the effort.
5-inch heels. That
Five
did me in
inches.
for heels for the rest of my life. And it was theater in the round, so you're doing the vom, so you're walking this way or this way. Yeah, that took its toll, but that was a lot of fun. I made my entrance from the center of the stage and came up on the platform with this huge headpiece, and that was a lot of fun.
Ooh, well. And then
But
did
yeah, I love I
did
love my
Howard
work
Keel
in
do did
television and
Howard Keel
film.
do Kismet?
Pardon?
Did Howard Keel also do Kismet at one
Howard
point?
Kid. Oh yes, he was
Yes, that's right.
the yes he did Kismet yeah at MGM. Yes, absolutely. Kismet, Seven
Right.
Brides for Seven Brothers. It was so
That's
wonderful.
right.
I
We've
know. I
seen
love.
that.
I love the work in front of a camera. It's just a very different relationship. And when you're used to having to project on a stage in a way that it's a very different technique. Obviously, the intimacy of the camera
Right.
and learning that. And I had never done really. I'd maybe done a couple of commercials in Chicago, but I'd never worked in front of a television camera really to any extent before I did Dallas. So that was challenging, but people were fantastic, and in terms of helping me. Oh, this was a show that I did called Hereafter Musical, um, and I actually am dead in this. My ghost. These three women have come to try to connect with their loved ones, a daughter, a son, and a mother. But was a hysterical number that they wrote for me called the Toe Tag Tango. And my daughter remembers me in my hospital gown, you know, with where when that's her memory of me when I passed away. But my hair is done like it was on her wedding day. But all of a sudden, I reveal as a spirit and sing a number called the Toe Tag Tango.
You look good for a deceased person in there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. As my coloring is quite, you know, that was a
Yes.
lot of fun. That was so much fun.
Oh, here we are.
This was fast forward. So when my first real, I was singing, I was doing some, mostly musical work in choir and solos. But my first show, I played Louisa in The Sound of Music with the Schenectady Light Opera Company. Fast forward 2005. That was
There,
19.
there you are.
There's me.
With,
I'm pointing like you can see. I'm in the four like I'm here with my little pigtails and my little bangs rehearsing.
so you're on the far left?
I guess as I'm looking at it, I'm on the far left because boys are on the far right. So I'm the girl on the
Right.
far left with the little
Yes.
pigtails, and we're
So
singing.
that
That
was your
was the
first.
Schenectady Light Opera Company production of Sound of Music. The other one you showed, fast forward many, many years, I was Elsa with the Tulsa Opera Company.
Oh, okay. So let's
And that
start
was a
that
lot of
off
fun
there.
to work with do a show at an opera company. Very different technique than normal music. They'd never done a non-operatic piece before, but it was a beautiful production. My dear friend Michael Ehrman, who was at Northwestern with me, was the director on it. It was a gorgeous experience.
And we were talking about singing, and you're singing, obviously. Let's see, singing.
I mean, I love the camera, work in front of the camera. It's a very different technique, but I would say that my natural inclination and my comfort level is, if you can say that, because people go, "You're comfortable on a stage." I'm comfortable in character on a stage, and I love the fact that it can be different every night.
Oh,
Oh, this is yes, this is the song that I recorded for the closing credits of an
this was
ill-titled
in
theater that I started 1985. A dear friend
Revenge.
of mine wrote this. Correct. I actually posed for those pictures, and I don't look anything like what the artist's rendering. It's a woman whose husband's killed who goes home to her hometown to recover and mourn, and in the meantime, it's a Charles Bronson kind of, I'm brutally attacked, my parents are killed, and one by one I take my revenge on these gentlemen.
Ooh,
That's
Shotgun Annie.
and finally, well, many variations of revenge, but it was a grueling shoot. I mean, I lost a lot of weight, but I'm really proud of it. I mean, there are issues that we had, unfortunately, contractually with it that I
Right.
won't go into. But I
So
will
for anyone
say
that has not,
there are
has
people
not heard
who
you
come
sing,
up and say that it's they what they remember is just the fact that it's a really emotionally and physically grueling film. You know, I would
right?
never, I rarely would go see a movie like that, but when you're offered an opportunity to star in a film and to get to do that, that was so different than what I had been doing for 5 years. That and people come up, and when I'm at these shows, they
And
know
so for anyone that
all there is.
anyone that hasn't heard you sing, that's a
A little
little
bit,
sample,
yes. That's a little
but
rock.
you
That's kind of a rock one.
right that reminds me of the style that Lisa Hartman was doing around that time when she was on Knots Landing. She was
Yeah.
doing a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was that
Well, my
genre
friend had
of.
written the song for something else, and I thought, hey, let's let the world hear this song, and they went for it. So I actually recorded that in Los Angeles, and then they used it for the closing credits.
And I'm surprised did you and Deb ever have little
No, we
sing-offs at
never
all,
had
or
the
no?
chance, and I still would love if we got the opportunity to do something together. I think it would be a lot of fun. We were both, I did other musicals and plays in LA, and as did she.
Mm-hmm.
And, at that time, I was doing a lot of cabaret and club work like the Gardenia and Rose Tattoo and other clubs
Mm-hmm.
in Los Angeles. And, that some of the gang would come and support me. And I'm pretty sure Deb came to one of them. Sherilyn Katzman was such a great supporter. She would bring a crowd of people. Bless her heart.
And
Um,
we didn't really get to talk much about her on the previous podcast.
yeah.
But poor thing
Well, she
passed away.
was if she was filming around the same time that Deb and Danon and I were, then we would grab lunch together, but and hang out together, and she was fantastic. It's very
And
sad.
there was a lot in the later years where you all were in the same
Yeah, like when we did
scene. And then,
she's in the scene with us with Miss Ellie, isn't she?
yes, and
And then she was in the offices because of all the goings on, and there are scenes
when
where she,
Sasha Mitchell showed up for the first time, and
right.
but so where were you when you found out about the cancellation, and then you had to go back to whatever you were going to do after
Well,
that?
I mean, I guess I had a feeling that, considering my final line, that I wouldn't be coming back. Since I told
Yeah,
JR
that
basically, hell would freeze over. So I wasn't expecting it. But I think what happened was, it had been a wonderful, nice long run. I wasn't doing as many episodes once, Patrick was gone again. And I was, as I said, I was pursuing other things. I was auditioning for other things. I was doing lots of commercials and voiceover work. And um, so, life goes on. And as I said, I was able to audition for and go on this concert tour. And that sort of got me longing to be back on the East Coast and be in New York. My family, obviously, I'd been away from my family for a lot of years, seeing
Right.
them, maybe once or twice a year because of our long filming schedule. So there were a lot of things pulling me to New York, but mostly the
Right.
fact that if I was going to kind of dive in and dip my toe into the, New York theater scene, I'd better do it now. And so I did.
Mhm.
And I started kind of doing a bi-coastal thing after the concert tour. I started for a couple of years staying with friends and kind of still auditioning in LA and auditioning in New York. And I was getting, because of people I knew in LA who were now in New York, I was doing developmental workshops of shows. I started performing. I was doing performing at Town Hall. And I got cast in my first show, which was down in Sarasota, Florida, called Role Play. And I just started getting a lot more auditions and opportunities to work and sing through some
Mhm.
wonderful connections with ASCAP and BMI as well, and in New York. So it was time. It was absolutely time to make the move. And unless you're a huge powerhouse talent who can do the bi-coastal thing successfully, you have to make a choice. And so
Right.
I permanently moved between 94 and 95 to New York and started
Right.
and never stopped working.
No,
Lots of
you
regional shows,
regional
national
shows.
tours, as I said, Lyrics and Lyrics concerts, Carnegie Hall, Kennedy Center, lots of opportunities.
Greenville Symphony, Jacksonville Symphony, Cabaret Convention at
Yeah,
Town Hall.
Town Hall, which was a big, which
Me-
connected me to a wonderful songwriter by the name of Portia Nelson, and many others. But Portia is well known because she, if you remember, she was in the film The Sound of Music, and she
Mhm.
played the nun who took the carburetor out of the car. So, and she was also in The Other with Tom Tryon, and she was a cabaret society singer in New York for many years and on radio. Anyway, she took a liking to my music and my talent, and she started to help, connect me to people in New York as well. So,
And Dallas obviously has another connection to The Sound of Music with Nicholas Hammond, who was on 3 episodes of Dallas.
right. Well,
Going after,
he was in the film with Portia. Yeah. So it really, as big a world as it is, and as many people as there are, the connections are always there.
that's it. I always play 6 Degrees of Dallas. Try and tie everybody back to.
Well, look at the people we had on
Connection.
our show. I mean, it's quite
So
remarkable.
you had Linda Gray drinking in the street with Lou Diamond Phillips in one episode.
What can I say? No,
You
I
have
mean
some.
that's and funny because I also outside of the actual Dallas world, I said I did a lot of voiceover and commercials. I did a lot of on-camera commercials, but one of the other things I did was, infomercial land kind of started, right? As cable
Mhm.
exploded and you had infomercials. So one of the things I did was
Suzanne Summers with her Thigh Master commercial.
Suzanne Summers with Thigh Master, Cher with her hair care, and also the Principal's Secret, Victoria Principal's
That's
makeup
right.
line and beauty care line. And I was the woman who did, to order your choice of Victoria's color kits, call blah, 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 1-800, blah, 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 blah. Order now. That was, and I would record, 1,000 phone numbers. But so I kept my connection to Victoria. When I would do, like I told you that I did a lot of looping and Walla Walla work and things, and I was often the white zone is for immediate loading and unloading of passengers only. No parking. If there was an airport scene, I was that lady.
You were the lady in Airplane,
No, I
but
wasn't
not in
in
Airplane.
I wasn't.
You weren't her. You weren't her, but you did that role, and
Yes, I did it. I did it often.
you did multiple sports and fitness, and you were on the Hollywood the Stars network.
I was on Circus of the Stars. I was on the
Circus of the
13th
Stars,
annual
and
Circus of the Stars. Yes, on the trapeze.
someone from there turned up at the Hollywood show.
One of my trainers, Richie Gaiona, of the Flying Gaionas, who are still in, I mean, he's still in Vegas now. They're an amazing flying family, and our coach was Armando Farfan, and he's sadly passed away not long after we filmed our episode of, not episode, but the 13th annual. He was from his family were the Flying Farfans. So flying families trained us. We trained for 3.5 months, very intense, multiple days a week. And Deb Bernard was also on the high wire on that one. So,
wow.
But we trained a lot, long and hard on the trapeze with Steve Burton and Rebecca Arthur and myself.
And there's people obviously don't realize just watching it. They think, oh, it just happens. But there's a lot of work that goes into.
You don't just magically fly on a trapeze. You train. We did things that normal trapeze artists, would be hard put to learn and train to do in that period of time. And that's the thing that Richie said. It was so wonderful to see him. Brought back a lot of memories.
And he brought a photo album with a lot of photos.
I had made a photo album, and he brought the photo album and laid it on the table. And my head was down, and I looked up and burst into tears and said, "Oh my gosh!" He was such a sweetheart, and those are the surprises that people show up at these shows. And there was a young gentleman whose mom had come to one of the other shows I did in New Jersey, and she had gotten a picture signed for him, and he showed up and said, "Now I need to get my selfie with you. My mom got the picture in New Jersey. I'm out here in LA to get a picture with you."
And how did you start getting into these shows? And
people had been telling me about. I'd heard about. Well, you had mentioned Chiller to me, and one thing led to another, and I finally said, "Well, how do I get connected?" So then I reached out to Deb, and she connected me to one of the agents who represents. And then I was at a show, and another actress told me about Hollywood shows. So I reached out to Dave El Coupi, and you just kind of have to raise your hand and say, how do I do this?
And what was that experience like? The Hollywood show? It must have been like a high school reunion type of a.
It was. That's the thing. I mean, people think it was a Dallas reunion. It really it became a Dallas reunion, but it didn't start out that way. I mean, there were a few people, and then everybody heard about it, and suddenly it was
25, 26 people, and even some people that had roles on one show, like Robert Pine played Priscilla's psychiatrist.
Right, on one show. And he was there, with the Chips gang.
And even though Eric Estrada and Larry Wilcox had to cancel.
Right. But he
still
came,
there.
And he was, a sweetheart. I would say that it was a wonderful reunion for the Dallas fans. But most of all, it was a family reunion. I mean, most or many of us had not seen each other in 33 years. And some of us were on the series, but we didn't know each other. We didn't work together. And yet we felt like we were family.
Like you had never met Josh Henderson, who played John Ross
I had
on
never
the new
met
show.
Josh. No, but it was big hugs. Like we all knew it was. I never did a scene with Chris, Atkins, but doesn't mean
right
that we don't
you're
know
part
who
of that,
we are.
Part of that family.
Scott and I never worked together, but we knew each other. So yeah, I would say the only people that I really had remained close to were Deb and Danan. So 3Ds,
and you should have had telephones at your tables, and
well, that's what was so sweet. I thought, here are all these major characters that are going to be here. Are they going to even come over and say hi? And they were so happy to see the three of us because we don't often get to some of these bigger shows.
Right, and the three of you. I mean, you'd seen one or the other at different points, but the three of you had not been together.
The three of us had not been together till the podcast, all together. I mean, Deb and I have spent a lot of time here on the East Coast, and I had seen Danan when I was out in LA several years ago, and we still stay in touch, but I'm not a Facebook person. I don't do the Instagram, the social media, and TikTok, and all the rest. So
and it's hard to tag you in pictures. People hashtag your name so that if they search you, but
exactly.
And then
it was of course, truly hugs and kisses and oh my gosh, and just sheer joy, sheer happiness, and seeing Linda again, and sing Charlene again, and Fern, and Cherie, and Amy. It was so wonderful. I'm leaving, and of course Jack Scalia. We're all like, oh, Jack,
Right.
our
And
little
we
heartthrob, and of course Mitch, and on and on and on.
and we were treated to a little performance from Al and D2 of "You Don't Bring Me Flowers"
Right.
at the table, which I have posted since then.
Oh, good.
So talk about the CD and when you recorded that and what
the CD was
prompted
released
it.
in 2004, 2005. I started recording it actually started in the planning process of getting the material, getting the songs together from and making choices and finding. I had 4 musical directors on it. I was involved with all of the arrangements and ideas of how to structure. I had a wonderful producer, Paul Rolnick, on it. So we started probably working on it right around post 9/11, or we were in the talking phases. So it took us a while to get it finished for obvious reasons. But it was released on PS Classics, a wonderful label. They'd done a lot of classical stuff, but they also and show albums. But so this is like my labor of love, and it's very eclectic, and it's kind of a song cycle, and it's got contemporary and jazz and musical theater and standards and you name it. And it is still. I still have some copies of physical copies. I still bring them to the shows.
I have it on the iPod.
I've had people come and have me that had bought it and have me sign it.
And how did you pick the tracks again?
It was a lot of songs that were special to me, songs that I had performed. Like "A Lot of Livin'" was the first song I performed at Carnegie Hall, the New York Pops. There were some songs that I had sung at Lyrics and Lyricists at the 92nd Street Y. There were just songs like "Home" that spoke to me after 9/11.
Right.
And I grew up on Carole King. "The Way You Look Tonight" is just a beautiful standard, but I did a Latin version of it because my dad loved, Latin music. There were John Bacchino is a wonderful songwriter. I have 2 of his songs. I have Stephen Schwartz and Stephen Lutbach. Stephen Schwartz, who did Pippin and Wicked and on and on and on. Godspell is a friend, and I have a song of his on there. And then a couple of songs co-written by my producer, actually, Paul Rolnick, whose wife Karen Mason is a wonderful singer.
And you have one called, let's see here, you have one here called "Home Again."
Yes, that's the Carole King. Yeah. See if
Carole King. We'll just bring that up a little bit here. Just jump. It's very interesting trying
but
to...
I had Billy Stritch, Chris Denny, my beloved Barry Levitt, who is no longer with us. I had multiple musical directors. "Mattress in the Kitchen" I would think that you would particularly like. It's got kind of a swing sassiness to it.
Bring that up a little. Let's listen to that for a moment.
I really need someone to talk to, and nobody else knows how to comfort me tonight. Snow is cold, rain is chills my soul right.
And then the...
Alone again, till I'm home again and feeling right. I figured I'd finish that line for you live.
Yes. And
but
then...
I'm proud of a very prestigious bistro award. There are 2 major cabaret awards in the city, the MAC Awards and the Bistro Awards. So I won 2 for other shows, but this was very proud to win that for my CD.
And you had outstanding achievement for the
Right.
solo
That's what the
CD.
award was for, outstanding achievement for solo CD. And of
Yeah.
course, John Bacchino played both of his songs on it. So um,
So what are
it's
you
a
working?
right
What are you
now
working?
I'm
Yeah. What are you working
well, I mean,
on
I'm
these
still
days?
auditioning. I'm still pursuing theater work. The between COVID and the strike, it's been a little slow and frustrating, but I'm still
Mhm.
auditioning. I'm still doing a lot of I do a lot of voiceover work still. I have a little home studio here, so I'm constantly doing narrations and a little some animation stuff that I've done. But I'm working. I haven't done a solo cabaret show in a long time. It's a big undertaking, both emotionally, physically, financially, everything. But I've had a show in mind for a long time
We
called "The
should
Ladies I Grew Up
get you
With."
back up on the
About a lot
stage.
of us.
But
Well,
the
I have sung several over the last couple of years. I've sung probably 10, 11 times at 54 Below. What used to be Studio 54 is a theater, and also below there's a wonderful cabaret room, and I've sung there many, many times in the past couple of years. So that's been nice. I have been out there performing.
and for
But
people
I'm
listening out there, it's you have to wear your clothes at this place now. It's not
Yes, no,
Studio
no.
54
This
anymore.
is not the 50. This is not your grandparents' 54 Below. This is
Right. There's no the drugs aren't free flowing and
No, we don't. It's food and beverages and lovely cabaret entertainment. Not people flying around and never mind. I'm not going to go there.
yes.
Yeah,
If you remember the
no, it's not.
70s, you
It's
weren't
not.
there.
Yes, it's not scenes from Halston. That's all I could think of for my recent reference to it. But there's also a fabulous theater space where cabaret is played many times, and the musical cabaret is played, because it's such a
Yeah.
great configuration for it. Also, let me see. I'm trying to think of any pictures from
You were
home.
doing some
I
corporate
have a little side gig
work.
as an actor that I started doing, which thank goodness thrived during COVID virtually.
Hmm.
I'm a business role player, but I've also facilitated, and it's basically working with the corporate world, many companies, in terms of teaching them to be better leaders, better communicators, interpersonal relationships, and it's very satisfying work because you're really working your acting chops, but you're also working your improv chops, because there are set scenarios, but we don't know what the participants are going to give us. So it's been a nice little thing to have on the side, and I appreciate it. It really
And
got me through COVID.
do
So.
you do you travel for that, or is that local, or is it
We do travel
online?
some. I've been Florida. I've been to Cambridge, as you know, several times.
Right.
I've been to the Chicago area a few times, out in Los Angeles, and I've also been even down to Costa Rica,
Oh,
working for a company that has a big branch down there. So I've gotten to travel a little bit with it, but most of it now is virtual. So I can travel all those places from my living room.
from right where you're sitting right now, you
Or
can
my
go
bedroom
anywhere.
where I'm sitting right now.
Yes, it's like putting on a pair of VR headset and just go, whoop,
Exactly.
I'm there.
Exactly.
But
But
the
I mean, I've been talking about this show called The Ladies I rough title The Ladies I Grew Up With, about all of my musical influences from the time I was very young and until now. But pretty much, as I said, since it's grew up with, the many, many musical influences from many different kinds of music that I listened to and loved, and sort of a personal journey through those, why those songs were special to me. So if I say it enough times, maybe I'll really dive in and start working on it. And I also have a friend who lives in Los Angeles that I used to sing with quite a bit, who I saw while I was out there for Hollywood show. And she and I had a singing duo. And I thought we could have a lot of fun doing sort of a comic, kind of revisiting of two singers who had a career, and maybe write a show about that. Could be a lot of fun. So we'll see.
And you can always perform with D2. That would be
I would love to
interesting.
perform with D2. D2, if when you hear this, I would love to perform with you.
Could go Sly and Phyllis on tour.
You know, it's not a.
Or is it Phyllis and
We'll
Sly?
we'll let Al join us too. We'll fit Al into the show.
What's it like just interacting with the fans when you see them after all
Our
this time?
fans are truly, I know we say it and we sound like broken records. They really are amazing. I mean, we had people at the Hollywood show who came from France and Germany and Luxembourg and the UK and traveled from all over the country to Los Angeles just because there were so many of us gathered together. I mean, 45 people paid you know how much money to have a photo with all of us together.
And that was a surreal moment. I know
we
Melanie,
loved having you. Our
Mary, Sarah, and I went in for that photo, and you all started cheering and applauding us.
Yes,
and it was,
we did.
and then,
Yes, and I got to stand next to you in the photo. I'm so excited.
and we walked
Well,
out of there, and
you're honorary cast members, especially
and
you. You are
it was like,
honorary. We're all so overwhelmed. I mean,
right,
I'll speak for
and
myself. It is overwhelming that after all of these years, people still have such an affectionate relationship with us and a special place. And now the next generations, not just those who grew up. Many of them were very young when they watched it, and now their children know about it. And now with all the streaming services, they know our episodes better than we do half the time.
yes,
They'll remind us and I go, oh yeah, I guess I remember that, because we were doing many things in our lives
right,
besides and
and
having lives besides doing the show. So the fact that
right,
people
and
love seeing us, are so kind, are so excited, and just remember us so fondly and continue to watch and support us is such a great gift. Some people say, well, so what are the sort of offshoots of, you mentioned the athletics and things. I'm a golfer, play tennis. I did a lot of tournaments all over the country, for Make-A-Wish, for cystic fibrosis, for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, Duke Classic, the Crosby tournament where we played, and we were, if whatever money we made was for our charities. I mean, to get to do that because of the recognition of the series is a wonderful gift. I did a huge benefit called We Belong to the City, the West Side Food Bank in Los Angeles. I did Women in Show Business for Interplast Inc. I put together a huge thing, and some of the secretaries, the real Lorimar secretaries, came to support us.
the real Phyllis Wapner,
the real Phyllis Wapner, and the real Sylvia Lovegren. So those were a great. When I did, many other things. I'm not saying to tout how wonderful I am, and of course my connection to cerebral palsy as well. To United Cerebral
which
Palsy.
could be an entirely separate podcast itself to come back and talk about.
Dennis James, the great Dennis James, for all those years, he was very much involved with the telethon. So, as a matter of fact, at one of the telethons, I was sitting between Ruth Westheimer, Dr. Ruth, and Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Remember? Did I tell you this story?
Robin Leach. I'm Robin Leach.
I sat between Robin Leach and Dr. Ruth Westheimer. That was a kick. I sang. I used to do the fundraisers for public television. I got to sing with Lamb Chop on my shoulder. I mean, it just to meet Sherry and to have Lamb Chop on my shoulder. My nieces thought I was like the greatest thing in the world. Well, I used to do Katharine Hepburn. I used to do a lot of different voices, including Eartha Kitt and Katharine Hepburn, and I would Judy Holliday. And so once in a while, when we were doing scenes, Patrick would ask me to do, a voice for, just for the fun while we were doing rehearsals. So we remembered that together. And he said, "Oh my gosh, I remember that." You go, "You never take me anywhere. I want that building over there," because there was the backdrop of Dallas.
Yeah.
They can never take me anywhere. Or I'd go, "Boa, Patrick, get it together." My Hepburn. So, we had, like I said, we had a lot of fun.
And of course, the night before the Hollywood show was a dinner that was,
Yes.
It was Sue Cabral, who was the makeup
Yes,
artist.
our wonderful makeup artist, and Carrie Nur, who was our prop master.
Right, and we're going to try to get them on at some point.
Oh, I would love that. That was so wonderful. That's one of those. Okay, here you go. You go to one of these shows. I went and V Neal, who's an incredible makeup artist, who was on the show Face Off, and did Beetlejuice and tons of. And I'll be seeing her at Chiller. She's going to be in my room at Chiller. We were talking, and obviously talking her work in Dallas. One thing led to another, and we mentioned Sue Cabral, and I said, oh, I would love to get together, get back in touch with Sue. And she goes, let's FaceTime her. So that's how I literally FaceTimed Sue, who I hadn't seen since the series. And she and I connected and got in touch, and that's how this sort of started to happen. Let's do something. Let's get together. Can you stop by the show? And that blossomed into, and then she was in touch with Charlene, and we were hoping Linda was going to be there, but Linda was negotiating some things and couldn't make it.
Was it Sharon Sachs?
Yeah.
The tutor?
We had the tutor, and we had, and of course, Omri and Josh were there.
And that must have been interesting, seeing the little kids all grown up now.
I mean, I'd seen pictures of them, but just to be with them. And, we really we had a couple of interactions with them in the series,
right.
But they are just...
Bring the kid into the office once in a while.
What a couple of sweet young men. They really are so dear. So that was fun to have a little with people who weren't going to be at the show. Look, if it weren't for you with the barbecue and with several other wonderful groups of folks who, through their own websites and podcasts, have sort of kept, the spirit alive as well. Dallas Fanzine, and I'm going to insult, and I'm not going to remember all the wonderful people that I've spoken to over the
Cattlemen's
years.
Club, who showed up with all that memorabilia.
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, it's, the hats we signed and the things we signed, but I'm talking about people who do what you do to keep the energy alive and who are interested. I mean, I just, to be honest with you, I don't know what celebrity is. I mean, it's whatever people
right.
put on us. I'm very grateful that I have had an amazing life, and I have, like everybody else, have had ups and downs and fruitful times where I'm working nonstop, and then times where I'm going, hello, crickets, I'm still here. And everybody's been through that. I mean, our beautiful Howard Keel, had an amazing career in singing. And then his, wherever people pigeonhole you, wasn't in demand anymore, And then Dallas gave him this wonderful resurgence. He was still the same talented person he'd always been. But it's wonderful to see that. And, we're really lucky. It's just that what we do puts us in the public eye, right? We're public figures because we're on a television show, or we're, in commercials, or we're performing, or on stage, or whatever. But we're just people who have lives and are, and I'm grateful for it. But, even before I got on last night, I woke up and I thought, is my life really interesting enough for someone to really want to hear what I've done? I can't imagine writing an autobiography or anything like that. But I just do this because I'm grateful, and I want people to know that, I've had a wonderful career in many aspects of my life. But, my family's always come first, and I've made decisions in my life based on things going on in my family. As everybody does. We do have lives when we're not in front of a camera or on stage. Because I didn't just do Dallas, and I did many other things, people come and they may see me sitting in that incredible Dallas room that they created for us.
James Yarnell did a great job with that.
Unbelievable, really. And, it's interesting because there were people who came into the room for that and then realized, oh, I saw you on that. And, oh, yeah, I forgot you had done this and this and this. And people coming up, a gentleman literally very shyly had my CD, and wanted me to sign it. And he said, I know about Dallas and I know about this. He said, but what I know you for is every single time you performed in New York, every concert you've done. He'd been at the Carnegie Hall things. He'd been at, Lyrics and Lyricists, 92nd Street Y, which is a big series. He'd been at the Cabaret Convention at Town Hall. He'd seen me perform at Studio 50 or at 54 Below. that was his whole focus. And, oh yeah, that's really nice. But this is what I have, my connection and my affection for you
Right.
because of the music. So if we can do that, and if we can make a difference in the meantime, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I connected with this gentleman who runs an organization called Mo Life, Molife, in Massachusetts, in Fairhaven.
Oh.
A gentleman named Charlie Murphy.
Charlie Murphy, I know him.
Well, Charlie came to the show, and we started talking, and we started talking about John Ritter and cerebral palsy. One thing led to another. I found out about his organization, and now I've connected him with the gentleman who runs the company that I work for with the corporate training, because they're going through a lot of leadership issues and changes in their company, and they might be able to work together. You never know. I mean, that's what makes me happy. When I meet people who I don't know, but who say, by the way, I'm good friends with so-and-so, and I'm like, oh my gosh, or running into people at the Hollywood show. We were in our own little area, but, I ran into other women that I, who are actresses that I know from auditions in New York, and we hadn't seen each other in a long time. So
right, and we walked around, and you and I walked around and talked to different people, and I remember going in, and somebody had pointed out to me, oh, Melody Anderson was in the other room, and she played Linda Farlow, Dusty's wife.
Yeah.
On a couple of episodes. And then Kim Johnston Ulrich was in the other room, and she was in the Conundrum series finale. So it was just a lot of different people that you run into, from Pete Best and Engelbert Humperdinck. And
Engelbert. I mean, line out the door. There was a great article, I think Hollywood Reporter did an article about, would you wait for 6 hours to have
Priscilla Presley?
I thought that was fantastic, because they made mention of all of us together, and it's and of course Stephanie Powers, as I said, it was nice to see her again and just reconnect for a brief moment. But I'm still like shy to go up and go, I did an episode with you and it was wonderful, but applauding that all of her profits were going toward her wildlife conservation, and so. And Tony Danza is good friends of another friend of mine. I don't know Tony that well, but I know someone else who knows him, so I wanted to say hi.
And 2 weeks later,
we're all kind of starstruck in our own way. Like all these tournaments I would do as a golfer, a lot of athletes. Well, the athletes were Dallas fans, and I was fans of their performance as athletes, and we were just like a little starstruck with each other, which tickled me.
But we should definitely have you back to talk about cystic fibrosis, because I like doing some of those issue ones at some point.
Well, I played in a tournament called that was a Pringles Light tournament. It was actually a lot of young developing pros, and we played at several tournaments, and that was a CF related. But my heart and soul goes to any work with United Cerebral Palsy because of my brother.
Cerebral palsy, yes.
Yeah, but all valuable. Equally valuable and important. So it's hard because there's so many incredible organizations who need that focus. And for me, anything we can do to bring people together, I'm just going to do my own little plug. Please vote. Please vote. Men, women. I know that it's a very frustrating, seemingly hopeless situation, for many, and they've become sort of apathetic, but your vote counts. Your vote matters. Please vote. And especially women. There's a wonderful show that just opened in New York called Suffs, and it's about the suffragettes, and it deals with the issue. And it wasn't that long ago we didn't have the vote, and that people all over the world risked their lives to put a piece of paper in a ballot and vote. So.
And we're not going to tell you how to vote. That's your business.
I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm just saying your vote matters. You may not think it does. Your voice matters. Your vote matters. Mm-hmm. People staying home and not voting is not the way to keep democracy healthy and alive.
Vote any party you want, whatever you want,
and be
how
kind
you feel.
To each other. I was in touch with someone via email and was talking about why do stories of hatred get more attention than stories of love and kindness, and he said because it's almost easier. And I said, well, I would like to think it's not easier to hate but I understand misinformation and all of the rest. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not talking what side of the aisle. I'm just saying we need to sit down and talk, not scream at, yell at. We need to understand, but kindness. And I think that's another thing too. I think if we can somehow through the arts sort of shine a brighter light on things and realize that we're more alike than we are not. We're more alike than we are dissimilar, and we all want to have a good life, and we want to have, be safe, and we want our children and our children's children and to have a future as well. So if we look to the fact that, and music can do that, and art can do that, and theater and television can bring people together from every walk of life, like you just said. So if we...
I think these are final messages, but any final messages since we've been on for so long?
I would just, I want to say thank you again for the love and the kindness and the support that people have shown me throughout my life. I hope I've been able to give back at least, part of that to you. And I just hope that I can keep singing and performing and feeling that love coming from the other side of the stage or through the television or whatever for many more years to come. I'm here, ready, willing, and able to work.
And with that, we've enjoyed having you on today, Deb. And look for us. Yeah, stick around for a minute. Look for us on our social medias, and we have merchandise available. We are up on YouTube. The podcast was recording the panel at the Hollywood show that has over 13,000 views.
Can I just jump in and say that my CD is still available? It's on Apple Music and iTunes and Spotify and all the rest. So it's still out there if you're interested.
And the name again is
A Lot of Living on
which is
CBS Classics.
Which is what we've all done over these years, haven't we? All right, so thank you for joining us today, and we will see you soon on another episode of the Ewing Barbecue Podcast, or some more after the barbecue episodes that we will have planned, and even some DOAs. We look forward to having, I believe we're going to be having Steve Tranelli on at some point in the near future as well. So we'll see you then. So bye, y'all.